Welcome to A Double
and
Dice
with your host Kim.
and Jocelyn.
Pour your favorite beverage,
Pull up a comfy chair.
because we are ready to roll.
Welcome to episode 62 of A Double and Dice, and today we are going to jump back on into the female characters in Dice Masters, but she is going to be one of a kind. She's not ever shown up before, but we kind of lost her in the shuffle, so we need to go find her. So before we actually go find her, we're going to jump into the dice bag first.
That's the plan.
Yes.
Hopefully
we'll find
the
her.
dice bag.
Yeah.
I think we will. I think
Yeah.
it's going to happen. So Kim, episode 61, like cray, right?
I know. If you haven't listened, spoiler, please go listen to episode 61 of A Double and Dice.
We are still so humbled and grateful that Wizkids chose our podcast to officially reveal the Secret Wars redesign. So if you have not listened to episode 61, I would strongly encourage you to go back and check it out and listen to us chat with Jimmy O'Brien from Wizkids. He's the product manager for Dice Masters and HeroClix, and he came on to chat with us about the redesign. And then go check out the article that Wizkids has posted about the redesign. It's available. It's linked on all of their socials. It's linked on our episode posts and in our show notes from last time's episode. And you'll be able to see the gorgeous art and new design of the cards, which really brings Dice Masters into the modern era, I think is the best way to describe it, right, Kim?
Yeah.
So what did our listeners think about it? Let's jump into that.
Yeah, let's jump into the bag.
Because that's what was mostly the bag was about. So
Yes.
there was a ton of conversation in multiple different venues, so much that I can't go through all of it. But I do want to say, if you are a member of the dmNorthTV Discord, there was a great conversation in the A Double and Dice podcast convo channel, where we talked about what happened in the episode and what Jimmy had shared. There was a lot of hints about Secret Wars itself, of course, in the redesign, but also sort of little nuggets that you can pull out and talk about of what might be coming in future. So, for example, there was hints of a new fantasy IP perhaps to come in future. And there was a little bit of chat about the upcoming US and World Championships coming up in Memphis in September and what we can expect from that, about Wizkids attending Gen Con in August. So there's all kinds of things to talk about, even if you're not interested in the redesign. But I really think you should check out the redesign. Right, Kim?
Yes.
Okay. So with that said, I'm going to say the general consensus of what we saw from that podcast convo chat from the the Dice Masters online Discord in the spoilers chat is that for the most part, I think people are appreciative of the new design. They like that Wizkids is investing time and money and effort into redesigning the game. The card art really does pop in the new design, and there's a general sense, I'm going to say 80-ish% of folks, I'm making that number up.
I would think it was majority, maybe like a 70, 30, 80, 80.
Yeah, and there's some folks that are not so sure, and that's totally fair, right? It's new and different, and it takes time to adjust. And I can certainly think for myself, people don't like change.
I'm not calling anybody old here, but
I'm not that much older than you, Kim.
No, I mean, like some people who are like been in it for a while.
I also like change. No, I know you weren't accusing me. So I can also see how when you put the cards on your mat with the current cards in the current design,
right,
versus the new design, how it could look a little bit jarring. And until all the cards have rotated into the new design, there might be a bit of a, brain-breaking conversation. This card has the dice down the right-hand side. It doesn't have the energy dice, just the character faces. And this card has all of them at the bottom. And, the layouts are a little bit different. So I could see how, initially it might take a little bit of getting used to. But ultimately, I think the huge win I think really that was the biggest consensus was Origins packs are the way to go. Like Wizkids has hit the ball out of the park with this one. That's what we heard from our listeners. As I mentioned, on the dmNorthTV Discord, on the Dice Masters online Discord, there was some chatter on Wizkids official Facebook posts. the Ministry of Dice just put out a video with their thoughts. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. It just
I
came out
haven't yet
as
either.
of
Yeah.
as of the day of
Day,
recording of this episode. So
day or day before? No, today. Yeah, the day of our recording.
Today. Yep.
Yeah.
Today, the day of our recording. So we haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I would encourage you to go over there and check out Chris and or Andy's thoughts. Probably Chris's.
I think it says
the
Chris
video
in the
there.
title.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andy.
So,
I mean,
so yeah, lots of good conversation about what's coming. People have been sort of picking out little pieces of what they saw in the article, what they heard from us. And then after Jimmy joined us, he then went over and spent some time with Chris and Andy at the Ministry of Dice, where he talked about a few things that we didn't get to touch on. I didn't have the opportunity to touch on in our podcast. So if you were wondering what an epic basic action is, the Ministry of Dice is the place to go. So check out their podcast from last week, which, Kim, we will link in the show notes.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. So we'll link that for you, and you can head over to our friends Chris and Andy at the Ministry of Dice and listen to Jimmy there as well. So I do want to talk just a couple of comments that came in from a few different places that were not part of that, let's call it active live conversation through Discord. We heard from everyone's fave hero, Donnie, on
the YouTube.
Again, as always. And Donnie says, just wow. He says a lot more than that because he's Donnie, but he says, I cannot wait to see the new rework of the cards. Thank you, Jimmy, for being so cool. I'm not going to lie. After you started saying secret about 20 times in the first 2 minutes, I was like, I need to count how many times they say secret. Because we did that once, right? We made them count how many times we said something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone got a prize for that. So Donnie continues, I love the idea of the origin pack, and I hope they do a black and neon green sidekick. So Jimmy, if you're listening,
colors. Yep.
You've added some colors to the request list. He says it's so great they have a low price point on the Origins pack because I know in my community we give a lot of extras around to other people or newer players to help them get started. And we don't always have action and sidekick dice left. So telling someone, hey, go pick up this and I'll give you a bunch of cards to make a team from will be a good intro, I think, to the game for newer players in my community. And I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Wouldn't you, Kim?
Yeah.
Yeah. So great to hear that you're excited, Donnie. We're excited too. So then we heard from Jackalope Spam, who sent me a direct message on Discord at Jostitch, Joce Stitch. He says, I'm digging the Origin pack. He's like, completely not needed, but collectors will buy them. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Because it's still like a different color dice, which we all love.
Yeah, exactly.
Sidekicks. It's plus, a different art card.
Yeah, exactly. Plus the card has a different art treatment.
Right. Yeah.
So he said, this just feels like a great reset point, that they need something bigger to take place than simply releasing it without fanfare. Maybe they've already got something lined up with a big fish, but they need something if they don't. So we definitely want to encourage Wizkids to make a big splash about this relaunch. As Jimmy said, it's not Dice Masters 2.0. It doesn't play differently. It just, the cards look different, right?
Yep.
So, and then we heard from Craig. Craig commented on our article post at dm-north.com, and he says, thank you. It is great to hear about the Origin packs. I wish the world was different and Wizkids would feel that putting a red Tyvek bag in each Origin pack is value added. So the Origin pack doesn't include a dice bag, as right. Jimmy shared with us on the podcast. Craig continues, when there are true impromptu opportunities for people to learn about the game or play, and they did not bring anything with them, those Tyvek bags are great. So I think there's a good point there, Craig. I would agree with that. And I also see where Wizkids is coming from, because they make these bags and they end up not really seeing them in use. Mm-hmm. And I think it was actually Nick, Jackalope Spam, that pointed out in Discord during a part of this conversation, or part of a conversation about dice bags, was that in a pinch, you could actually use the Origin pack box as a dice bag. Put your dice in there, shake it up, pour them out, type thing. So you could work with that. It's not the greatest experience. I think they're trying to keep that cost low. The fewer things they put in there, the less expensive they can keep it, because it helps them, cycle that around. So that was some great stuff that came out of the dice bag. I'd also like to share that I was chatting with my friendly local game store owner this week. I went down to pick up the other Wizkids game that I play, HeroClix. Disney Plus, Marvel Studios Disney Plus just came out, so it's the Disney Plus set. It's super awesome, by the way. I've only just started to open
Yes,
my
Matt.
packs.
The Hero Clicks expansion, Matt. Hero Clicks expansion.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Matt is calling it the board game expansion for the Disney's What If miniatures game.
He doesn't want to call it Hero Clicks.
Doesn't want to admit that he's playing HeroClix.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Disney Plus came out. I went down to pick up my stuff and Rob's stuff, and I was showing our GameStar owner, who has been interested in starting to run Dice Masters, and I've got a couple of events lined up, learn to plays, and some drafts coming up soon in Mississauga, Ontario. If you're in the neighborhood, check the win. We've put them in. But I was showing him the origin packs, and I was showing him the dice, like the draft packs, and he's like, yeah, like he was actually looking at me and looking at the pictures and then looking at his counter. He's like, I could put that right here. Like, that's really attractive. He's like, I could absolutely sell that. I'm like, yeah, absolutely you could. Especially after I teach you how to play the game, which we're going to do in 2 weeks when I come down for the first event. So anyway, he was really impressed with what it looked like and the work that had been put into it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what will come of the redesign and what can be done with it, and all of the exciting stuff that Wizkids has lined up this year. So Ministry of Dice keeps saying, this is the year for Dice Masters, and I think they've got it right. We've got Kryptonite Crisis coming soon. Kim, you said you listened to Ministry of Dice, right?
I did.
So you heard Jimmy say that the product should be releasing somewhere between June 15th and June 29th-ish. In North America, at least.
I think, I was actually looking at the distribution site today, and they threw it to mid-July.
Okay, so
who knows?
Yeah, he did say it could get pushed into July.
Yeah,
right, but it's coming. Superman Kryptonite Crisis is coming. It's closer, at least in North America, than it has ever been, and so it's almost here. And then next thing we're going to see is Secret Wars. And that will pop up in October with the new design, and it'll be a great time to teach all of your new friends how to play Dice Masters, because they can pick up that Origins pack and you can get them a draft pack, and you'll be away and ready to go. So generally, I would say the community is very excited to see Wizkids investing in the game, Wizkids taking the time to spend time with us. Us and the Ministry of Dice, and sharing information out on their social media and posting articles and all of the things that we've been wanting from them, communication and information about, what's coming up. So we've got Gen Con with some Dice Masters drafts and potentially some constructed events. We've got the Memphis event with US Nationals and Worlds, hints of other large events in other countries with information to come, and new product with a new design on the horizon. So everything's coming up Dice Masters.
Mm-hmm.
Just like
Exciting
everything's
times.
coming up Millhouse. So.
The Simpsons.
So that's basically the dice bag. Kim, did you have anything you wanted to add to the dice bag there?
Just some thoughts. I know you said like people get used to some of the new cards and the old cards sitting on their play mats, but I guess once most of things rotate out and then the new stuff coming in, it'll eventually fizzle, right? So you'll see most of the new stuff on your play mat. But yeah, it could be a little bit of an weird eye thing. So
an odd visual.
Things. Yeah. But the better I think is coming. So I know Jimmy said something about fantasy. Now, when he said something about that, the first thing that clicked in my mind, and I don't know if you know this, but Wizkids makes a game called Fantasy Realms.
I did not know that.
Okay. And it's a good card game, actually. I played it recently. It's fun. I wanted to go pick it up, but then I realized, and I saw them launch, that they're actually making a deluxe version to it.
Ooh.
So I'm not sure and they relifted the cards a little bit, like they changed a little bit of the art. So it had me thinking, I'm wondering if they're going to go down the path of Fantasy Realms.
Well, that's very interesting. I have a slightly different speculation.
Yeah, okay, go for it. So that's my speculation. Let's see what yours is.
So mine is more in the vein of continuing with Dungeons and Dragons. However, you may be aware that Wizkids has been working with Critical Role. And Critical Role is like a vodcast. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's like actors that play Dungeons and Dragons, and it's become very popular. And now they're doing miniatures based on the Critical Role characters. And the third wave of those just got previewed. So it would be interesting to me, and I'm just wondering if this is maybe where it's going, is the next Dungeons and Dragons set would be a Critical Role themed set.
Is it fantasy-ish? I guess Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, I mean, it's still Dungeons and Dragons, right? So yeah. So I don't know. That was my thought.
All right, so you heard it here on episode 62. So we'll have to remember that we have to come back and see if we were right or if we were completely off. Yeah. But we're just guessing. So.
And it sounds like we won't know anything really until potentially, like, I know there's a fan event at Gen Con in August, but I think the September one is the one that Jimmy was really sort of hyping as that's where you want to be, right? You want to be at the Memphis event. You want to be at that fan event and learning about what's coming.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, be interesting.
So really excited, really interested, very much looking forward to what's coming in the future. And speaking of that, Kim, did we find our missing female?
I think we did. And she's definitely one of a kind because she doesn't exist in Dice Masters right now. But let's listen to her story first.
Okay. So
who is our female character for today?
It is my absolute pleasure to share with all of you that coming out in Secret Wars, we will finally have the final member of the Fantastic Four join our team. So Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, will be joining the Dice Masters Arsenal, and her friends from AVX, which was the last time we saw them, which are Mr. Fantastic, her husband Reed Richards, the Thing, and Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. So we are, I'm sound so like calm here, but I'm like jumping up and down on the inside. This is so important to me because I love the Fantastic Four, and I am really glad that Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, will be joining us in Dice Masters finally after so many years. So we will be sharing with you today an exclusive spoiler that of the Invisible Woman uncommon card. But before we do that, let me tell you a little bit about Sue Storm. How does that sound, Kim?
Sounds good.
All right. So Susan Sue Richards, before marrying Reed, she was Sue Storm, is also known as the Invisible Woman and the Invisible Girl. She is an American superpowered adventurer. And she got her superpowers when, at the time, her boyfriend and scientist Dr. Reed Richards took her with her younger brother Johnny Storm and pilot Ben Grimm to space in a stolen rocket. The radiation mutated her and her friends, turning her invisible and allowing her to create force fields. Together with her friends and soon-to-be husband, her brother, and Ben Grimm, the pilot, they became the Fantastic Four, a team of adventurers who explored space-time and alternate dimensions and saved the world along the way from science-based threats. So the Fantastic Four are often referred to as Marvel's sort of first family, and they've been around a really long time. So her first appearance was actually as the Invisible Girl in Fantastic Four #1 in 1961, and she's changed a lot since 1961. So in the beginning, like many female characters in the early days of comics, she was kind of the token female, right? She was just there to be a love interest for Dr. Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, and provide empathy to the team and things of that particular nature. Her invisibility powers, they were cool. She could become invisible. Ooh, I'm invisible. But they didn't really do anything, right? She wasn't really great at fighting or being involved in that way. So a lot of her comic story was really about her relationship with Mr. Fantastic and her brother Johnny and with Ben, aka the Thing. So there wasn't a ton for her to do in the beginning. However, later on, after she married Reed and she became a mother to Franklin, their first son, who is what's referred to as an Omega level mutant. He is like the most powerful mutant of all time. So she became a mother. She had her son to take care of. She struggled sometimes with her husband. She struggled, as many families do, with different interests, and he was always consumed with with the future and what's going to happen and threats that are going to happen. Like, Reed Richards is such a really smart guy, and he's so intelligent, and he's always running different scenarios and always looking for threats and ways to protect not just the world but his family within that world. And sometimes Sue got the feeling that the world was more important than the family, so there was sometimes strife in their relationship. But what happened a little bit later was, so how do I put this? All right, let's start here. So she left, the Fantastic Four for a while. She came back. She reconciled with Reed, and then, she was spending time with the Fantastic Four, and there's a villain called Psycho Man, and he took advantage of Sue and her fragile self-control. So she was maybe having some negative thoughts, negative emotions. She was struggling with her, relationship with her husband, with her brother, with the Thing, Ben, and everybody. And at this point, she was still the Invisible Girl. She wasn't called the Invisible Woman yet. And Psycho Man took advantage of this and amplified her negative emotions. At that point, she became something called Malice, as opposed to being the Invisible Girl or Sue Storm. She had all of the Invisible Girl's powers, but none of her restraint, and she started attacking her fellow team members. So she was able to throw that off with the help of Mr. Fantastic, but then, lost control again when there was a further fight with Psycho Man. Psycho Man has a control box that helps him manage these emotions, like an emotional modifier, if you will. And she turned that on him, which almost killed him. So at the end of this, she changed her name from Invisible Girl to Invisible Woman. It was like a maturity thing. She discovered how to use her powers in different ways. So instead of just becoming invisible, she could actually force objects, which is a different power, which we'll talk about in a minute. And she lost a little bit of her self-confidence, which was already shaky in the first place, because she knew that malice, that person she turned into when her emotions had been negatively modified and amplified, that person was still inside her. So she, struggled with that. She left the Fantastic Four again. She spent some time with her son Franklin, who had regained, some of his powers and needed mentoring because they had been taken away at one point. She worked with the Avengers. She did a few things, but she got pulled back into the Fantastic Four, and she had to confront that malice inside herself. So there was, some time where she did that, but eventually, malice manifested again, but she was able to sort of overcome that, right? She's also taken a lot of time in her self-growth and self-discovery and become a leader. So not just a leader of her Fantastic Four team, but she's also like a mother to many mutants. So she was with Namor for a while in the underground Atlantis. She's known as Susan, Queen of Atlantis in sometimes. She spent some time down there. She's adopted other children. So the Fantastic Four and their two kids, they have Franklin and Valeria. They have adopted other mutants and other aliens and people that have come to join them in their tower. I can't remember what it's called. It's like Fantastic Tower or something like that. That's not what it's called. There's a fantastic car, but Baxter Building, in the Baxter Building.
There you go.
So, she has adopted, little people called like Vil and Uhari, and there's mole men's children type things and all that sort of stuff. And she gets newfound competence and confidence from this, from the different interactions she has, and she realizes that she is a leader, and she starts to really come into her powers. Okay, so she's a mom to her kids. I think she's a mom to her family, and she's also a mom to all of the people that need help around her, and she just sort of brings in all of these folks. Her and Medusa is also a mother, and Medusa of the Inhumans has worked with the Fantastic Four. She's helped protect the kids. Like, there's all kinds of interactions there. So it's really interesting, her story, and there's a ton that we could talk about. I don't want to get into everything, but I think that's kind of the key pieces there, right? So she had this growth story. She went through that period of negative emotions, and that manifested in this character of Malice, which she eventually overcame and defeated within herself. And then she found her confidence and her place, and found a way to make her place in the world with her super smart husband who's trying to save the world, and her brother who's running around on fire, and their friend Ben Grimm, who's the Thing, and he just smashes stuff because he's this massive rock man now. So the other thing about the Fantastic Four, which I think is one of the reasons why I thought it was kind of weird we never had Invisible Woman in the first set, is their powers feed off of each other. So if they aren't in the same place for a certain amount of time, like if they're in different zones, if they move into different, move too far away, if they're not all on Earth, for example, their powers start to dissipate a little bit, because their powers were all gained at the same time, and somehow they feed off of each other, so they can help each other be strong. But if they're separated for too long, their powers start to dissipate. So I just thought that was a really interesting piece, in the fact that she wasn't in the sets now, and now she's going to be. Mm-hmm. So I'm a huge fan of the Fantastic Four and their storylines and things like that. So in particular, there's some comic book runs that are relatively recent, within the last 10 years. There's Jonathan Hickman's run on the Fantastic Four, which leads up to, spoiler alert if you haven't read it, the death of Johnny Storm, after which the Fantastic Four become the Future Foundation. Also, spoiler alert, in comics, no one stays dead for long, so Johnny does come back. So don't worry if you were worried. But there's some great storytelling in there with Jonathan Hickman and his storyline for the Fantastic Four, which then goes into the Future Foundation, and then Matt Fraction, who's another author, picks it up. There's some really great art. The whole family dynamic is really interesting, with all of the kids and the things, and living in the Baxter Building, and all of the technological stuff, and all the kids have powers, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a really fun read, and I really encourage you to check it out if you have not. So let's talk a little bit about the Invisible Woman's powers. So first off, she has
invisibility.
Exactly. So she has the mental ability to manipulate the ambient cosmic energy for a variety of effects, including the rendering herself and other objects invisible. She can also construct solid invisible force fields. Okay, so that's something very interesting. She has psionic force fields, so the cells of her body produce a certain energy manifestation, and the cells of her brain produce a different, more potent manifestation. So through concentration, she's able to project a field of psionic force that she can manipulate into a number of relatively simple forms, such as rectangular, planes, cylinders, globes, domes, cones, etc. The complexity of the shape is limited by her ability to imagine or mentally visualize a particular form and keep it in sharp mental focus. And then the size is also limited by her ability to imagine it. The smallest force production she can visualize and maintain is a marble, and the largest she can do is about 100 feet in diameter. So that is something that's interesting, and basically is like a shield. So she can shield people with this psionic energy, these psionic force fields. These force fields have also prevented telekinesis from passing through. So there was an instance where she used a force field around herself to prevent Jean Grey's telekinesis from affecting her. Made Jean impossible to attack her with telekinesis. So that's interesting. Since the power is an extension of her mind and body, Invisible Woman is affected by inertial forces acting upon her projection. So if a car is traveling at 60 miles per hour and it hits the wall of her force field that was 6 inches thick, she would be affected as if she herself was hit by the car directly. So she has to be careful about how she does that. But again, it's that protective, but also offensive ability with these force fields and these objects. So yeah, that's her abilities. So anything else about Invisible Woman there, Kim?
Nope. I learned all these things, right? So this is all new to me.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What is it with all these female characters always having something? But I always thought she had like a happy story, but I guess not.
Well, I think her story is realistic.
Yeah.
Right. So, one thing I find about Marvel characters, like I was really happy that in this particular story there wasn't any, rape or sexual assault or
bad stuff,
violence, or I had to kill my husband
issues.
or any of those types of things. Right.
Yeah.
So I was happy about all that stuff. So that was good that we didn't have any of that. But I think what I like about Marvel heroes is they are very human. They have flaws, right?
Mm-hmm.
They aren't perfect, happy, go lucky, magical people that, magic people with powers that just go around saving the world. They are also, alcoholics in the case of Iron Man, or in the case of Invisible Woman, she struggles with her self-confidence, and she, has difficulties with her husband spending too much time at work. Right? Like, it's relatable.
Yeah.
So, and I just think that, I think she does have a happy story. I think she has built herself a happy story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what people need to do, right? Happy doesn't just come at you. You've got to work for it.
Yeah.
So she's found her place. She's found what she likes to do. She's taken leadership roles. She keeps her team together. She protects her children. She adopts other children that are orphaned. She keeps things going. So
what moms do.
That's right. And aunties.
Yes, and aunties.
So, okay. So should we talk about her card, Kim?
Yeah. So the one we have is the uncommon one. And, of course, she's named Invisible Woman. Her subtitle is Overcoming Malice. So, of course, we just learned about that in the story. So fitting, it's in the card.
There's a reason I chose that part of her story.
Yeah, I figured that. Yeah. So she is a mask character and a 2 cost. This one is a 2 cost.
Yep, 2 cost mask. Always a handy one to have.
Very easy, yeah. Her stats are 025, 023, and 013, and she has the best picture on her die.
Sorry, 012, Kim.
Oh, sorry, 012, yeah.
Yeah, and Kim, you read them from top to bottom because we're still getting used to the new card
so this
design.
is the new card, the new Secret Wars card. So I am reading it from top to bottom. So that would be level 1, 2, and then 3. So I'm guessing
the bottom,
that would be,
so the bottom is 012. So level 1. So it goes 1,
the
2,
bottom
3
is level
upwards.
1.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
we have to get used to this.
Yeah. So 012, 023, and 025 are her levels. So 0 to field on all levels. And then her defense increases. Her attack increases a little bit, but not a ton. But I think, again, this makes sense in the context of the story we just told about Malice. At the time that she was overcoming Malice, she was sort of building up her self-confidence. So as her self-confidence increases, her defense increases. And her attack increases a little bit because she started to learn about her ability to make these force fields and force objects. But she's not quite super powerful yet.
Yeah.
Not as powerful as she would become.
Yeah, my curse stats are not out there.
Yeah. So in her art, which you will see because after this episode releases, we will send out an article with this this card in it. And we'll chat a little bit about the card in a short article with our release. The art is her, and she has her children on either side of her. It looks like she's got Franklin and Valeria on either side of her there. And she's got her hands in front of them and holding their hands as if she's protecting them, is kind of how I view that art.
And yeah, her dice picture, just love it. It's great. I don't know how I'm gonna deal with this in real life, but so just so you know, in context, but you will see the card. It will be on the YouTube video too. I'll put it up there. There's absolutely nothing on there.
It is invisible.
It's invisible.
Yeah. So we don't have the actual dice. We only have the card.
Yeah.
But the die looks like it's sort of like a translucent blue, almost like an icy colored blue, which would make sense when you think about her force field projections. And there's no image because she's invisible.
She's invisible. It's there.
Yeah.
It's just invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she does have an ability, right, Kim?
Yep. Before I get there, I was going to say her affiliation is Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, max 4 dice. And her ability is when blocking, Invisible Woman deals damage equal to her defense. So not her A, so she'll do it her with her defense.
Yeah. So again, that really sort of ties into that defensive, protecting, keeping people safe, right? That sort of motherly instinct that we talked about.
Yeah, so she'll be a good blocker, and then if you get her on level 3, that's 5 damage going to a character die. So
yeah,
pretty good if you get her up there.
Yeah, and then lots of ways, as we know, to give things overcrush or to make them unblockable, or ways to sort of, well, it's when she's blocking, not when she attacks. So
yeah, so buff her D. There's stuff out there that can buff defense.
Yeah. So you can KO your opposing characters when she's blocking.
Yeah.
So not an attacking piece for sure, but definitely a really strong blocker. And like you said, buff her defense, so she may be able to, KO something, get her up to that level 3. The 0 fielding cost is fantastic. The 2 cost mask is fantastic. And I can't wait to see what her other rarities are when the time comes.
Yeah, will she get a super rare or will she not? We'll find out.
I hope she does.
Yeah.
I hope all 4 of the Fantastic Four get a super rare.
Did they, I can't remember, was there any other in the pictures that were shown of Fantastic Four? I can't remember.
Well, there was Franklin's Galactus.
Right. Okay.
Right. So Franklin is her son.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he has something to do with Galactus in that particular conversation. So maybe he was the Herald of Galactus. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that particular storyline.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only one that we saw in the article that has been released so far that has any sort of connection to the Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, short of the fact that, like, there's a Spider-Man card, and once upon a time Spider-Man was in the Fantastic Four, but that's not the Spider-Man from the Fantastic Four. I think it was Ultimate Spider-Man or something.
Yeah, it's a different looking Spider-Man.
Yeah. All right.
There's a lot of mishmash characters in the Secret Wars. So.
Well, Secret Wars, I haven't read it, but I from what I understand is it's a very big storyline that encompasses a lot of Marvel characters. So it's definitely got like a lot of things to draw upon to bring all of these different Marvel characters together.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think that is pretty good. I think you're going to see a lot of things in that set that you haven't seen elsewhere, and maybe, I am sure, I'm not going to say maybe, I am sure that our friends over at the Ministry of Dice, Chris will put together a Secret Wars history video at some point to get us all up to speed on Secret Wars and what happens there. And then also coming down the pipeline sometime in the possibly next year, I think there's going to be a Secret Wars Disney Plus TV show, isn't there?
I have no idea. I didn't even learn about that one. I haven't heard that one yet.
I'm pretty sure that there is. So Secret Wars. Does Secret Wars have to do with Skrulls? They might have to do with Skrulls.
I do not know. I don't know anything about it, so I'm sure we'll get educated at some point.
Yeah,
maybe before the set drops, we'll have to get educated.
I really shouldn't speculate because I don't know what happened in Secret Wars. I just know. Oh no, this doesn't have to do with Skrulls. I'm totally confused. Just Secret made me think of Skrulls for some reason. So Secret Wars 2015, the basic premise involves the collision of the Marvel 616 universe with the Ultimate Marvel 1610 universe, which destroys both. Pieces of the two universes are mysteriously saved and combined with other post-collision universes, creating the Battle World, apparently. So, so that makes sense because there was an Ultimate Spider-Man in that, in that article, and the Ultimate Marvel universe was part of the Secret Wars there. So, ignore anything I said about Skrulls. I don't think Skrulls are involved. Maybe Skrulls are involved. I have no idea. I'm going to stop talking now.
Somebody will tell you.
Yeah, somebody will tell me if I just made a, what did we call it? Pop culture train wreck.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's not really pop culture, more like comic book train wreck.
Well, I mean, comic books are part of pop culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really shouldn't talk about things that I don't know what I'm talking about. So, but there you go. So the 616 battle universe collided with the 1610 and created the battle world. So lots of different characters in Secret Wars. Who knows what we will see? It sounds like there's quite a lot to pull from, and looking forward to seeing what that looks like, not just because of the fact that we're going to get the new card design, but also because there's going to be so many more characters available, and that includes our good old Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman. So let us know what you think of the Invisible Woman card we've shared with you today. What do you think of that ability? What do you think of the fact that her die has no icon on it? It's just a blank side. The stats, the look and feel, you'll be able to see that shortly after the podcast drops. We'll put an article out with the podcast with the card, and as Kim mentioned, she'll include it in the YouTube that goes out later today. So Kim, should we talk a little bit about upcoming Dice Masters events?
Sure. So we have Tuesdays always with WDA, 9 o'clock Eastern time, and still continuing on. You can check out either or Discord, our Discord, or the Dice Master Discord, and you get to check out the theme there. Thursdays at 4 o'clock is 4 o'clock Eastern is Dice Fight. That happens purely through the Discord. So you can also go there and check out what's happening there with the formats and all that jazz. Dice Social's happening this Saturday, but by the time this episode drops, Dice Socials would have finished. But I think we're going to be looking at taking a break for July and August for the summer. So we'll be back probably in September after the June event. And then, yeah, I think that's it. Upcoming on Saturday, July 30th is BWX Fest 4.
Nice.
So that's a multi-universe theme. That sounds really cool. I'm already spinning my head of what I'm going to be choosing as a character. But all the details are up on their website. It's breathweaponx.wordpress.com, I believe, the site, but I will put that in the show notes for you as well.
Awesome. And I want to, just before we call this out here and call this an episode, Kim, I want to put a big thank you out to all of the folks that are involved in updating the team builder. So if you head over to tb.dicecoalition.com, I am happy to share with you that the Superman Kryptonite Crisis cards will be fully uploaded and available as of today in the team builder. So Pink Frankenstein on Discord shared that with me and asked me to share it with you guys, and I helped, as did a few others. I don't have all of the names, so I apologize that I can't thank everyone in person, but we helped read and proofread the cards so that when they go up, hopefully there will be fewer typos and errors. So I did part of that, as did some other folks, including Pink, and I know Pink put a ton of work into keying all of the information into the team builder information so that we can build teams and see the cards, and everything for Superman Kryptonite Crisis will be available as of today, which is the day the episode drops. So head over there, start building teams, taking a look at what's coming in Superman Kryptonite Crisis if you are so inclined. The product should be in hand soon, and that's also a big thanks goes out to Wizkids for providing the images to the Dice Coalition so that they can keep the team builder up to date. So thanks to all of those tireless volunteers at Dice Coalition that worked on that and got all of that work up and running and keep the code running in the background. And I have no idea how any of that stuff works. I just read cards. So I had a few minutes the other day and I was able to help out. So to all of you that helped with that, all of you that keep maintaining it, it's a great tool for the community. And, I think online play without it would be a lot harder, wouldn't you say, Kim?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks to all of you folks, and head over there to tb.dicecoalition.com and start building your teams with Superman Kryptonite Crisis cards.
Except Kim.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it either, to be honest, because I want to wait till I open my cards. But, it's good that we have the tool available to us and ready to go for when the product is in hand. Right? Cool. All right. So if you have any questions, comments, or thoughts, or anything you'd like to share with us about this episode, about your thoughts on Invisible Woman overcoming malice and the fact that she's finally in Dice Masters, any horrible, egregious errors I made in telling her story and or mentioning Skrulls as part of Secret Wars, which is probably nothing to do with that, please make sure you reach out to us and let us know. You can do that in a bunch of different places. You can send us an email at dpodcast@dm-north.com. You can find us on the Discord. As we've mentioned, you can join the Discord at dmNorthTV. And you can also at me. I'm at JoStitch, J-O-C Stitch, or at Kim. She's at SuperK. You can find us on all the socials, which include the Twitter, the Instagram, and the Facebook as dmNorthTV. You can head over to the YouTube, where we post Dice Masters content as well as board games and other stuff at youtube.com/dmNorthTV. Live content and live gameplay of Dice Masters and other board games at twitch.tv/dmNorthTV. And until next time, on a double and dice.